Because when you are coherent within self, this is the same as saying you are very firm, unshakable in your values and principles and how much you believe and align yourself with them, to the point that you are unwilling to compromise even to the slightest. And this puts you at loggerheads with the system of darkness, which is trying to make you to conform into a particular lifestyle, a particular modality of existing, which is antithetical to where humanity and you are beginning to perceive within self you want to go. So, this idea of being unified in self, of having a coherent energy as much as possible, implies that Hi, it's Muzz iEvolv. Thank you very much for being here again this week. So many options, yet here you are once again, and I really appreciate that. Thank you. Well, can you believe it? We finally arrived. We are here. We are finally at the place that we set off to arrive at 4.5 months ago. That's how long it took us to get here. Originally, when we mapped it out, it was going to take us about 12 days, but it took us 4.5 months. So it's been an ordeal, but it's so good to be here, and it's a lovely place. It's tranquil and peaceful and quiet, and it's great weather and beautiful white sand beaches and very cheap. So we're very happy that we're here. At the moment, I'm still in temporary accommodation, but hopefully I found a place, and hopefully next week we're going to move in. And it's a really nice place. It's quite reasonably priced, 500 meters from the beach. So it's all looking good. Everything's in a bit of disarray. I don't know where my book is that I would normally show this week. Also, this is the first time I've seen myself in a week because there's no mirror in this place that I'm staying. There's no mirror in here. So I didn't realize I was looking so woolly. But next time you see me, I'll have a shave before then. So, look, I'm not going to go through all the normal stuff that I go through. So let's just go straight to the channeling, okay? So, today, the topic is, what does it mean to be unified in self? Greetings and thank you for the question. What does it mean to be unified in self? The reason that we have decided to answer this question this week is because, again, as we typically say at the beginning of these sessions, it is very pertinent to this particular time. The reason we like to use this frequent focus is because humanity really is at a junction point, and the options have really distilled down to a binary where you go into the light or you go into the darkness. And so the outcomes are incredibly disparate. So all that you do should be, if you have a desire to continue the evolution of self and the evolution of species, to be in the direction of the light, to increase your familiarity and your imbued energetic flavor with the light as much as possible. And so we, week after week, give you little perspectives and new attitudes and insights which are slowly, incrementally moving you further and further and further and further into the light, so that you become a master of the light yourself. And when you are the master and you emanate a very intense and potent energetic brilliance, which is imbued with the light of your Creator, then this has the ripple effect of affecting those around you, and they affect those around them, and then you have this cascading wave of energy going across the planet, fully enveloping your species in its natural energetic ambience, and in this process, drowning out the darkness. So, for you to be the most potent vessel, radiant beacon of the light as you possibly can, then it requires a very coherent energy, meaning that there is less chaos in your energy and greater coherence, greater uniformity, and greater unification. So you literally become unified in self. We spoke in the last session of the tendency that darkness has for chaos. It has a dependency on chaos, and how this can be exploited by being chaotic within the system. But this does not imply that you are chaotic within self. It is absolutely essential, as you become more masterful of your spiritual journey, that you are very coherent within self. And this can be done while at the same time being very chaotic within the system. In fact, the more coherent you are within self, then the more chaotic you will be to the system. Because when you are coherent within self, this is the same as saying you are very firm, unshakable in your values and principles, and how much you believe and align yourself with them, to the point that you are unwilling to compromise even to the slightest. And this puts you at loggerheads with the system of darkness, which is trying to make you to conform into a particular lifestyle, a particular modality of existing, which is antithetical to where humanity and you are beginning to perceive within self you want to go. So, this idea of being unified in self, of having a coherent energy as much as possible, implies that you are the same person in all places that you exist, in all areas of life where you have some presence, that fundamentally you are the same person. And so there is no duplicity to your character. So, where you would find this duplicity to be most existent in your character would be from our observation of the human field, would be in social media. Because social media, it is very anonymous, but also there is a particular energetic quality that has been given to your social media platform, this unified mind, you could call it, by those that are controlling it. They are using it deliberately to make you hostile to other members of your species. And when they draw this hostility out of you by showing you content which is specifically designed to misrepresent a particular demographic that those who orchestrate this social media platform wish you to be opposed to. They wish you to feel that this other demographic group are your enemies, are very misaligned to what you believe are true values. And at the same time, this other demographic are being shown content which gives them a misconception of your demographic also. And so now you are opposed to each other, and you are being hostile towards them, and they are being hostile towards you. But it is important to understand that this is the system. This is the system very deliberately keeping your human species as fractured as possible. So, if you are going to be the master of your own energy, and you are going to achieve a place of coherence, then it is important to be aware that you are being manipulated to be discoherent, that you are being manipulated to be fractured in your energetic identity, meaning that when you're in the regular arenas of your life where you are having face-to-face interaction with the people that you admire, the people that you respect, the people that you consider to be your peers in your own community, to those you are a being of light. You are a being which is virtuous and good and true. But then part of your existence, this is just to exemplify how this could manifest in your own life. Perhaps this is not the same for you. But perhaps there is part of your life which you spend on social media, and in that social media experience, you are receiving information about those that you perceive as your enemy. And you are incited through the content that you are shown to feel that they are part of the reason that humanity is in the state that it is in, that your own communities are in the state that they are in. And so when you contribute to that discussion, you contribute in a way which is hostile to those that you have been manipulated to perceive as your enemy, even though they are fellow human beings. Fellow human beings that themselves have been manipulated in some way. So perhaps they are behaving in a way which is not conducive to what you envision as being necessary for the betterment and the future striding of humanity into the future. But it is not because they are inherently broken or unsalvageable people, but rather because they also are living in a state of manipulation. They are being force-fed ideas and concepts which are very counter to the good of the all. And so they are being victimized just as you are being victimized, and you both are left in a state of very different perceptions and perspectives of the entirety of the human experience. But ultimately, they are your fellow human beings. And really the only division which should be meaningful at this particular time in humanity's progress through its cycle of transcendence from the third density, where it exists in a place of spiritual duality, into the fourth density, where it shall exist in a state of spiritual unity, is the force which is the polaric opposite of where you would like to go. And this, of course, is the force of the darkness, and those that wield the darkness in a very conscious and purposeful way. Because it's not because they are confused about their spiritual identity, about what is their true spiritual composition, which is the light and nothing but the light, but instead because they have made the philosophical choice that they are going to align themselves with the darkness, because that is what is going to be most serving to them through their reckoning of the achievement of their ambitions, of the crowning of their ultimate vision, which as a generational force has been unchanged for a very long time. That is really the only separation in humanity at this time which is serving to your species, to recognize this unified malevolence, and that it stands apart by choice rather than by a result of them being victimized. So, those fellow humans which are operating from a place which makes them, from your perspective, to be antithetical to the progress you would like to see in the human species, if you can also perceive that this is the result of their own programming and not necessarily because of an inherent fault in their humanity, then it is most serving to you and also to the greater humanity that you begin to soften your opinion of them. So if they are a racial foe, or if they are an ideological or a political foe, or if they are a religious foe, understand that they are living under a system of indoctrination, that they have been many generations into a belief system which was designed to serve those that administer or espouse that particular belief system, and less so to the recipients that then live by the doctrine and the dogma of that particular system. And when you're able to soften, and then this becomes demonstrative in the way that you are in the presence of these people, and those around you begin also to shift their perspective and begin to realize that many of the beliefs and opinions that they hold, just as you hold, are not beliefs and opinions that have arisen from your own lived experience, but really are implanted ideas, beliefs that have been very insidiously implanted into your psyche to get you to behave in a particular way, which ensures that humanity remains fractured. Then those on the other side of this foe-to-foe relationship will begin to perceive a softening from the opposite side, that there is a willingness to understand from the opposite side. And they themselves, those that are also suspicious, that some of the beliefs I hold perhaps are not beliefs that are given to me because they serve, but rather they have been given to me because they are aligned to the agenda of an upper level, an elite level, that are manipulating humanity, keeping humanity in a state of perpetual conflict, while they in the background march forward their own agenda, which is opposed to all of humanity, except those within that elite group. Then this is the beginning of the disintegration of the barriers and of the differences which stand in between the different fractured groups within the human species. Now, we accept that this is not something which happens quickly. It is indeed something which is very, very, very much entrained into the psyches for generations, and it cannot be overcome as easily as perhaps we are making it sound. But also it's important to keep in mind that humanity, the earth, the sun, the entire solar system, this region of the cosmos, it is all going through a leveling up. And so that scenario we describe is becoming much easier and much more likely to come to be, because the energetics are aligning with that actual reality. And the point will be reached where the energetics will be so powerful that humanity's presentation on the basis of the energetic cymatics will literally reform and reshape to assemble in a geometrical pattern which is in alignment with this new energetic subcurrent. And these old beliefs of the past, which opposed you to each other, will no longer be relevant, will no longer be energetically possible. And all of these divisions will have very naturally fallen away. So, it's in service to yourself to start aligning yourself with this shifting energy and to let go of the old ways and understand that some of these ideas, which perhaps you have inherited from your parents, from your grandparents, from your religion, from your cultural belief system, are misaligned with the coming golden age. This does not mean that you betray your values, that you betray your principles, but instead that you begin to open up. And so now it is possible for your values and principles to coincide with other ideas, because now there is an umbrella idea, which is we are all the same being. We are all on the same mission. We are all cells of the same organism, and that organism is the humanity being. And it is our destiny that at some point we will all come together to form this single identity. And even though we are the single identity, we will still retain our individualism. So these cultural ideas and beliefs and traditions that I hold will still be mine to cherish and practice, as they will be for those that at the moment appear to be so different to myself, to my community. So, this is when you have reached the place where you are unified and yet at the same time very different. Because as you become more and more and more realized of self as the one, which means you are going to realize of self as the humanity being, that are realize of self as the earth being, that are realize of self as the solar system being, and so on, then the more paradox will become part of your existence, because the ultimate being is the ultimate paradox. The ultimate being is an infinity of individuals, and yet at the same time it is one individual. It is infinite, and yet it is one. That is the ultimate paradox. And so as you become more realize of this ultimate being, then you are going to become more paradoxical yourself. And so these ideas, which seem to be absolutely counter to each other, will eventually seamlessly blend into your self-conception. I am the single being comprised of many, many, many uniquely different individuals. So, let us finish in this way. Look at your life in all of the different hats that you wear, in all of the different arenas where you have a presence. And see, is there anywhere, is there any place, is there any format or modality where you are not the same person that you are in these other arenas where you are living part of your life, where you have a presence? It is accepted, of course, that when you are at home with your children, you are going to be wearing a different hat than when you are in the boardroom with a room full of executives. But fundamentally, you are the same person with the same values of virtue, which are derived from the light. Integrity, honesty, dignity, honor, sympathy, compassion, love, caring, understanding, and at the same time, strength, forthrightness, assertiveness, and so on. These are derivatives of the light. And if they are the fundamental characteristics that you take to every arena where you are not being hostile for the sake of hating on an enemy you have been indoctrinated to perceive as the reason that your life is the way that it is, that your community, your country, your hemisphere is the way that it is, then you are no longer the duplicitous being, but now you are living as the unified being. You are unified in self. And now you have a very coherent energy, an energy of the light, which is very pure, which is very powerful and potent and deeply penetrating. Its vibration goes far, affecting every other human being within the earth human experience. This is what is possible. This is what you are capable of when you are unified in self. So, live the shameless life. This does not mean that you no longer have shame, that you do things which are undignified and lacking in integrity, and you do them with no shame at all. This is not what we mean. We mean live a shameless life in that there is nothing which you do which you would be ashamed of if the rest of the world, others in the many arenas in which you have a presence, were to be aware of that you would be ashamed of. If there is something like that still in your life, then it is time to retire it, to move it out of your existence. This does not imply that you are surrendering all of your privacy. Because of course, privacy is a fundamental human right. It is a fundamental right of every sentient species. You are entitled to keep things solely for yourself. But avoid the trap of this little area which contains the secrets you do not wish anyone else to know, that it does not become a haven for shameful living, for shameful practices, for doing things which you do not want the other members of the places you exist to be aware of, because you would feel it is undignified. You would feel it is a shameful act. And finally, if you have a particular part of your life where it is an expectation that you will behave in a way that is shameful, perhaps it is the way that you derive your income, perhaps it is a particular group that you belong to, and when you are in that group, there is an expectation that you will behave in a certain way, that you will make certain decisions which are necessary for the fulfillment of the expectations placed upon you within that arena, and they are shameful, then give deep consideration as to whether this actually serves you or not. While it may give you status, or it may give you advancement, or it may give you income, we would argue that these are immaterial in the greater perspective of what is actually occurring here and what the purpose of your incarnation is. It is totally and absolutely about the energetics. It is about you being ready for your ascension when the time comes, that you have compatible energetics with the metaphysics of that experience. And anything that you do which could be cause for shameful self-reckoning, then this is dragging your energy down. It is lowering your vibration and jeopardizing what you have lived through many thousands of lives of pain and suffering to arrive here for this opportunity. It is a great miscalculation to keep these things in your life, particularly at this time in this incarnation. So, let them go and become the pure being of light that is entirely coherent in its energy, living in a way which is absolutely shameless, because you have awakened to the true nature of self, which is the unified self. Thank you, and we love you.